Welcome to The Long Road. I'm your host, Chris Roberts. A little nippy outside. Expects to go down into the single digits tomorrow. So when you're watching this show Wednesday night, it's supposed to be pretty cold outside. And a possibility of a northeasterner coming in Friday. The American models say nothing, no big deal. The European models say good chance of a northeasterner. The American model said nothing about Sandy. European model said something different. It seems like the European models are getting more and more accurate compared to the United States models. I know, I think it was maybe about a year ago, I had said there was very little chance that, excuse me, that I would be thinking about running for the school board again, but it's one of those never say never, and you always leave a little bit. And I decided to put my hat into the ring to running for the school board. I'll be one of 9 individuals running, and I hopefully as many people as possible will come out to vote. I think it's really kind of sad that we might get 10% of the people come out to vote, and that's a really small number for something for $63 million. Which has a big effect on the your taxes, because as we all know, anyone who just recently paid their taxes, $31.40 per thousand is quite a bit of money, and I think that's moved us up to number 2 in the state. That's something that you don't want to be at the top. There's 234 municipalities, and you'd much rather be in the middle of the pack instead of at top of the pack. I think Berlin is still, or Berlin as I say it, is still number 1, and you can get a good house in Berlin for $35,000, $40,000. Of course, you're not going to get a job, you're not going to have great schools, and it's not exactly the most exciting place to be. And so one of the biggest reasons that I threw my hat into the ring again, because there's a lot of stuff that's coming down, and there's a lot of stuff that's been happening over the last 3 or 4 years, even 5 years, that I find really frustrating that we haven't done much about, because we didn't think it was going to affect us, but it is affecting us, and it's going to affect us even more. And the sad part is the powers to be above always keep saying, hey, no big deal, everything's getting better, everything's getting better. The stock market went over 14,000. It is great. Housing is rebounding. Its growth at the highest it's been in a couple of years. We're creating jobs. We're doing all this. But in anything, you have to start at a reference point. And, and what's happening is, to what we should be doing, what was our reference point we could say 2007, but in 2007 when it was getting ready to collapse, that reference point was a bogus reference point, because it was really fake. It was an ultimate Ponzi scheme, and it was fake. You really have to go back, you can go back to 2001, 2002 as a reference point. That's probably the closest, because you don't want to go to 1998, 1999, where you had the other bogus reference point of the dot-com bubble. So really, our reference point should be back to around 2002, 2003, because even if you do 2007, and if we were building 1 million houses in 2007, and we dropped down to 200,000 houses in 2010, and now we're building 300,000 houses, the people on Wall Street and the politician in Washington will say, hey, the housing market, the construction is up 50%. We're doing really good. That's time to go. You got to go out and buy now before the prices go higher. The realtors are telling you that because they stand to benefit. The homeowners do it because they stand to benefit. The bankers, the mortgage, they all stand to benefit. They also know if you go out and buy a new house, chances are you're going to buy a new car, new furniture. If you watch any of these TV shows and stuff, and it really amazes me where someone's buying a $400,000 house and they're going to spend $80,000 to $100,000 to fix it up. To me, if I'm buying a $400,000 house, it should be in pretty good shape the way I like it. But nope, it's $400,000 then $100,000. So everybody seems to benefit if they can convince you to buy a new house. But like I said, if you're going from $1 million down to 200,000, you had a drop of 80%. Then you go up from 200 to 300, you have an increase of 50%. And because a lot of people don't do math very well, they're saying, well, we're doing really good. Well, if you go down 80, you go back up 50, we're still short 70. And it was one of those old trick questions that they used to give us in class. If you had a sale that was 20% off and then you had another 20%, another 20%, another 20%, another 20%, and you go, wait a minute, 520s is 100%, I should be getting it for free. Well, that's not the way percentages go. And so if I'm in the stock market or if I'm selling securities or I'm a politician, that's why I never like to use whole numbers. I always want to use percentages because people always, the great majority of people always look at the last percent, not the percent off the reference point. And so what I'm going to do today is show you some of the reference points, well, some of where we are right now in New Hampshire, and I've gone through a number of places to gather a bunch of information. And this is one from New Hampshire Business Magazine. State economy sets budget debate. Using New Hampshire economic forecast developed by New England Economic Partners as a baseline, the New Hampshire Center for Public Policy Studies forecasts state tax receipts will grow slightly more than 1.5%. So taxes are going to go up 1.5%. Or total 3.4% over 2-year budget. Again, another tricky percentage, you say 1.5, 1.5 is 3, but that's 1.5 and then another 1.5 on top of the 1.5. So if everything goes well, that means the state of New Hampshire will get $148 million more dollars compared to the budget, our current budget, which ends June 30th. $148 million into the general fund. Well, there's people already gobbling up to want to get part of that 148, and there's other people who are saying that 148 additional revenue isn't enough, and we want more revenue. But on the other part is, if the economy doesn't do well, and as we've just seen that the gross domestic product was a negative last quarter, and if we go a negative, excuse me, another quarter, that'd be 2 negatives in a row, and then we would be into a full-blown recession. Okay, a deeper downturn or the result to a full-blown recession could result in an increase of $360 million in revenue. So $360 million in revenue. So we're now looking at the possibility, if we go into a recession, we will have $360 million less than we do for 12-13. If we're talking about, quote, the O'Brien cuts of 12-13 and how it did a job on the state of New Hampshire, just think, if we do not increase any taxes or any fees, I'm not going out there and saying we're going to do it or we should do it or where we should do it. I'm just doing the hard numbers. So right now, we're going in, as we're getting ready to set the budget, which has to be passed by June 30th, we can go, so we have a $508 million range. So if it just goes down a little bit, we may have a zero. And in some cases, a zero increase in revenue would be a heck of a lot better than a 360 decrease in revenue. So when we're sitting there going back and forth, just think, in 5 months, here we go, we're talking in 5 months from now, the state legislature up in Concord has to come up with a budget for the next 2 years starting July 1st that, based on where the economy is going, it could be up to a half $500 billion swing. That's extremely big gap. I don't know any of us who would like to be able to go and plan a budget for the next year or even 2 years with such a big gap. And that could very easily, that's a humongous gap of general fund revenue. That could be easily 6 to 7% of the general fund revenue. But on the other hand, a stronger recovery, on the other hand, would likely increase revenue. Thought probably 40 million. So this is what happens when you're up in Ways and Means. They say if things look good, we can get 148 million. If things don't look so good, we can lose 360 million. If things stay the way they're going, or like they've done in 2012, we go up to 40 million. And one of the things that we had 4 years ago, well, 4 years ago, before O'Brien took over, was that on what we did was we didn't like the numbers, and I always say we because it's part of the Marine Corps thing. Everyone's a Marine, so you're responsible for everything the group does. I'm a member of the State House. It doesn't matter whether I vote yay or nay. I'm still part of it, and I can't say it's they. I went in, I voted against it, but hey, I'm still part of the elected House. So I'm saying is, this is what we did. We did not like the numbers. So the Thursday or Friday before we got to vote for the budget came to the floor. The Ways and Means sits down and makes a judgment. It's like, holy crap, what are we going to do? And it goes, let's go ask some more experts. So what you do is you go out and look for, and I'm saying they did it, but what you do is you go out and look for some experts. Do I like blue experts or do I like red experts? If I do the red experts, we're going to have some problems. But you know what? I think I can find a number of blue experts, and I'll throw in a couple of red experts, and I can say the majority of the experts say this is what we can expect in increased revenues for the upcoming year. And so that's how we did the budget, and that's why we had such a big deficit, because they were much closer to the red deficit. Well, in a lot of places in business, they don't go in and say and pack it with blue experts, and they don't pack it with red experts. They go and say, what are the sensible, reasonable experts saying? And I hate the word experts, because everybody gets paid for their expert opinion, and people don't go and pay for expert opinions that don't support their beliefs in the first place. So, so if the black experts say, hey, you know what? If things look a little bit better, you can expect $40 million. That's what we should be doing. And if we go and say we can only expect $40 million increase in the next 2 years compared to what we've had the last 2 years, there's going to have to be an awful lot of hard decisions to be made, and there's going to be an extremely amount of pain that's going to have to be endured. Because right now, the beer tax is down. The only tax that we can expect to increase is the cigarette tax. That was a 2-year, and there's no doubt in my mind that no one is going to vote. Well, there'll be some, but there's no way I see the House or the Senate or even the governor signing off on extending the cigarette tax. Okay, so when we go and look at these numbers, 148, 360, negative 360, or crappy, I should have done another color. Let's see if we, 148, 360, and 40. Those are the numbers that we're looking at. Okay, but here's what happens now. The state agencies, head of facilities, says the state existing utility costs for heat, electricity, and water for state buildings will rise more than 10% in 2014-2015. Rounding off, that's $5.8 million heat and water. Debt service, because, for example, for 4 years, instead of putting school building aid into the budget, we bonded $40 million each year. So what we did is we bonded $160 million. Okay, and part of that means $13 million in interest payments. Health insurance. The cost of providing health insurance and other benefits to state employees is expected to increase by 22% over the biennium of 2 years at a cost of $101 employee cost. $121.7 million. The University System of New Hampshire got $106 million over the last 2 years. They want $200 million. Well, they want $94 million more, university system. State health officials are seeking to reinstall payments to some hospitals where they got cut off. For example, like Cheshire Medical got cut off, and they need money because they're hurting. They have a negative. They're losing money. But hospitals, $215 million. I think you can see we're having a problem here, Houston. And the state education officials say we need another $22 million to help school districts pay for new construction. Schools. That $22 million for new construction, that causes, like, for example, a little problem is, for example, here in school, as part of the interconnectivity, here in Keene, where we're talking about the possibility of $12 to $16 million to refurbish 4 schools that are combined age of over 400 years, we may not get a single penny from the state to help for that. Where the state says, you know what, we'll put money out there for new construction. That going forward may have a big impact on where the people and where the voters of Keene go. The voters of Keene next year may come out and say, you know what, $12 or $16 million that we have to pay 100% of, or maybe $18 million for a new school where we only have to pay 70% of. You know, those are little factors because of what the state is doing. So if we round it off, there's 19, 140, 234. That's 234. 454. No, 234. 430. Okay, 19. That's 140. 234. That's 449. That's $471 million. Well, if everything goes good, we can expect 148. That's $313 million. Where does that come from? If it just stays the same and we get 40, that's $431 million. Where does that come from? And if we prove a budget based on this, and this happens, basically this is what happened before, now we would have a deficit of $673 million. And so that would then require unbelievable cuts before June 30th, 2015. Kind of like 4 years ago when we did kind of this and we went high, and Governor Lynch they laid off people, they did away with some of the wage raises, and the governor kept making cuts and cuts during the course of the budget so he can get it down closer. So, but these are just some of the basic people are asking for, and that's not on the development delayed, that's not on mental health issues, that's not on corrections, that's not on environmental, that's not on public education, K through 12 education, that's not on preschool education. So all those hundreds of other issues, parks, beaches, clean beaches, the state paying their promise for water projects, all those other issues are not even into that total right now. And so basically right here, depending on how the economy goes right now, if the state was just to give this and no one else got a single penny more, and as a result of inflation and everything, which would mean that every other area of the budget would see a budget, an actual spending cut as a result of, or buying power as a result of the inflation rate over the next 2 years, we could be looking from a $313 million to a $673 million deficit. And so, slow economic budget debate. That's what we have to go looking through. So if this happens, think what happens to county funding, education funding, funding that comes down from the state to the cities. So basically, right now, there's a really strong possibility, I would say maybe 60 to 70% possibility, that the school, the county, the city are all going to suffer major hits, funding hits from the state over the next 2 years. It doesn't matter if it's Democratic leadership or Republican leadership, the money isn't there. It's going to have to make hard choices. And the unfortunate part is all the lobbyists have orange badges. It's going to be the individuals with the orange badges who can get into more legislators' ears, who can spend more money and be there more. They're the ones that are going to come out the best. They may not come out what they want, but they may come out the best. And as a result, the people, the small towns, the education, and all the stuff, they're going to suffer. because, yeah, I can go in, you know what? I can't cut interest payments. It's going to be pretty tough to cut my heater and water. You know what? I can lay off or fire employees and not rehire the employees. I cannot give all the money to, so if I cut that, that's 60, and I only give them half, and there's 100. I don't give anything to the hospitals, or even if I give half to the hospitals, that's $200,000. But if I give half to, get rid of half the employees, so I don't have employee increase, give half to the university system, because the governor and other ones that promised stated that they wanted no tuition increases over the next 2 years, give half, and they only give half to the hospitals, bingo, that's 200,000, so now I'm only down to 473 possible. So I'll be anywhere from basically 115 debt to $473 million in debt. Again, still a lot of major trade-offs. So let's go for one. Industry, real estate. As we all know, employment drives commercial real estate. The industrial market experienced some significant increases in availability space with the closing and a relocation of a diverse group of companies. We've seen it in Keene. But we got Borders empty, we got the old Circuit City empty, we've got the old David Ford empty, we have Kingsbury emptied, and so we got the Center at Keene empty, we got Colonial Mill empty. All of those are empty. The mixed bag of negative and positive news for the industrial market will persist into 2013 with increased vacancies a possibility. And this is from Michael Temposi, who's a senior associate in the Manchester office of CBRE/New England, where he's responsible for all aspects of the sale and leasing of industrial, office, and retail property. This is the 2013 industry forecast. So you look at Keene, we've got a lot of empty space, or as we say in the Marine Corps, places that are holding sailboat fuel or air. In summary, we expect to see an increasing headwind for the New Hampshire commercial real estate market as employees remain cautious, the unemployment rate continues to increase, and consumer confidence remains pessimistic. This overall lack of confidence translates to soft demand for consumer manufactured goods and distribution. So you're going, wait a minute, the state budget's having a problem. In the 2013 New Hampshire forecast for industry and commercial and office space doesn't sound very good to me. Let's see what they say for Jason Alexander, managing partner of Banks W Holding. The United States added 450,000 jobs in the fourth quarter of 2012, and according to the Bureau of Labor, 30% of these jobs were in business and professional services, with another 38 in hospitality and retail. Hospitality and retail, that's such a really nice name, but what is it? Hospitality, wait staff. I think they get less than $3 an hour plus tips. And unless you're in some really good places like Lucas or Nicoleans, was it? Nicola, where my trusted assistant over there giving me all the information. You know, where people can go in and spend $200, $300, $400 for a sit down with 3 or 4 people. The wait staff gets pretty good, but I can show you a lot of places around Keene where the wait staff doesn't make very much money. So those are type hospitality, catering service, things like that, retail, Walmart, TJ Maxx, Target. As we talked before, as you look at the people in Target and in a number of these retail places, they're getting older and older and older. And as a result, less and less young people, teenagers, and college students can get jobs. And so, and the other big thing is nursing, medical field. And we go nursing. Well, as we all know, there's nursing assistants, licensed practical nurses, RN 2-year, RN 3-year, RN 4-year. And nursing assistants working in in nursing homes or at the county home, they don't get paid a lot of money. Other ones in the hospitality is line cooks, dishwashers. Again, they don't get paid a lot of money. So most of these people who are getting hired, if they work full time, they get benefits, but a lot of them are not working full time to get benefits. They might make $22,000 to $24,000 a year, which means they're not going out and buying a lot of stuff. Higher education, the president of New England College in Henniker. It says New England will continue to place increased pressure on higher education institutes to recruit students from away, both domestically and internationally. Well, New England is getting old, and it's getting old fast. Maine and New Hampshire are right up there as two of the oldest states in the country. And as I said earlier this summer, more and more people 55 and older are coming into New Hampshire because they like its no tax structure. And as a result, they're driving up costs, and a lot of people are leaving. And so, plain and simple, what they want to do is, you know what, let's get people from out of state, or let's get people from overseas. Like you saw in the Keene Sentinel over the weekend, you had the delegation from China that came to Keene State College. Keene State College would love to have more people from China to come in because they pay full boat, they pay everything, and you get a high profit margin on international students. In a lot of universities, they charge even more for international students. And I was talking to an individual, they were saying that Keene State College has about 300 empty beds. And so when you look at 300 empty beds, and you look at maybe $10,000 for tuition, room and board, and so all of a sudden, you're looking about $3 million a semester that the college isn't collecting. And if the college isn't bringing that money in, the college is not buying supplies and stuff off of other individuals, and it has a negative effect on the the community. And because of the high cost of college, right now here in New Hampshire, some of the universities are going online, hybrid courses, 3-year BA courses. The other one, emergency, is the MOOC, massive open online courses, where students bring no-cost credentials to the institution. So there's a possibility in the future I can go into Keene State College and say, you know what, I want to take my courses online. I'm not coming on campus. I'm not using any facilities. I want a cheaper rate. And so there's an effect. Now I go to another one from the January 2013 Governing Magazine. In New Hampshire, we like to sell homegrown, live free or die, and we're constantly going, yep. Well, New Hampshire really has a kind of a problem. New Hampshire doesn't want to merge none of the communities really want to merge. Everybody wants their own police department, fire department. Look at how many SAUs we have. Look at how many superintendents that we have for such a small amount of number of people. When you look at the superintendent that we have for the Keene School District, I've been places where there's more kids in a high school than there is in all the Keene schools. And that's a principle. And we pay a lot of money for superintendents. Monadnock, Winchester, Westmoreland, Conval, Fall Mountain, just a short area around here. Well, believe it or not, when they've gone and compared which states have the most governments per capita, special governments per 100,000 and general purpose governments per 100,000. This would probably send the Free Staters and Libertarians going right through the roof. New Hampshire ranks 19th in the country. We're a small state, but actually we're a big government state. We have an unbelievable amount of governments. And I looked at the stuff. For every 100,000 residents in New Hampshire, there's 50 governments in the state of New Hampshire for every 100,000 residents. And North Dakota is up there almost 400 because they're such a wide open state. Let's see, when you go in Hawaii, let's see, Maryland has less than 10. Florida has like 11. Massachusetts only has about 15. And so, let's see right here. Vermont has about 110 governments for every 100,000 people. And believe it or not, New Hampshire has more governments per 100,000 than places like California and New York. And so we're the big government state. And you know what? We're paying an awful lot of money to be a big government state. And we go and say, well, it's not really no big deal because you know what? They're all volunteers. $2,000 for the school board, $100 for the state house, $2,000 for the city council. But one of the things that's happening is, for those prices and all these amount of governments, there's not enough people who are even interested. There's not enough people that want to get involved. And you know what? There should be no way in the world that I should be on 3 of those governments. Well, actually, I'm on 4 because I'm on the county government too. But it's 4 governments. Do we really need to have all those governments? I live in Keene, and I can take part in 4 governments, and every one of those governments has a high-paying administrator and a staff. And there's a question: who's paying for it? We know, you and I, when you see your tax bill, $31.40. And so we like to joke. You go into a lot of, you talk about New Hampshire, and you get a lot up at the State House, and you may have something that a lot of the chief of police come in, and it's kind of like, it's amazing how many people show up, police officers with their 4 stars. Well, I got 6 policemen part-time. I've got 9. I've got 40. And you can go to Los Angeles, a guy with 4 stars. Oh, I got 25,000 police officers. And so it's really strange. Another thing that we're not paying attention to, within the next 10 years, New Hampshire is going to be one of 10 states who will have more people retired collecting Social Security than they have kids in K through 12. Just think of it. One of 10 states, and that's where it goes with all these governments. People 55 and over, a lot of them are in government. Concord, a lot of people 65, 70 are in government. And they go, yes, I'm on the select board, I'm on the city council, I'm on the planning board, I'm on the zoning board, I'm on the water district, I'm on the cemetery, I'm on the library. All these governments, and as we showed, more and more of them are coming from out of state to retire in New Hampshire. And you know what? They don't have kids, they don't have grandkids, and they don't want to pay for our kids, your kids, our grandkids to get educated, because they don't know them, they don't care, and because they're on these governments, they get to determine what gets funded. And so saving bonds gets funded, saving stone walls get funded, saving old churches get funded, putting more and more forests and other stuff in conservation gets funded. Those are all well and good. But for example, in this government, if one government takes $100,000 of tax-bearing property and puts it in conservation, everyone else in the community has to make up that lost income, that lost taxes. And we go into, we keep saying that the presidents from the college says, yes, New Hampshire needs, there's a lot of jobs out there. There's a lot of high-skilled jobs out there. There's millions of high-skilled jobs out there that can't get people to, they can't get qualified people. So it's these people's fault. If you don't have a job, it's your fault. There's plenty of jobs out there. Get off your lazy butt and get a job. It is your fault. There should be no reason you should be on welfare. There should be no reason you should be on unemployment. Okay? I'm being facetious. I'm repeating a lot of comments that I've heard on radios and all this and read. But that's, we hear over and over again. And what's happening, it's frustrating people because people want to work. Well, right here, the national ecosystem facing constant threat, and New Hampshire's emerging high-tech ecosystem is no different. A shortage of seed money, a drought of engineered talent, and continuous climate change in Concord, and they call climate, it's talk about political, undermines the growth of this essential sector. Despite the sector's bleeding of 1,100 jobs in New Hampshire in 2010, high-tech employees, about 37,000, or about almost 8% of all private sector employees. And the New Hampshire technical worker earns an average wage of $85,600, 93% higher than the state private sector wage. High-tech, engineering, basically, you have those, you work in New Hampshire, you double your salary. But the community university and community college graduates only 1,120 students in the STEM field, which is called science, technology, engineering, mathematics, annually. And tech leaders say that's not keeping up with demand. We're probably short 1,000 software engineers today. Well, you would think, holy crap, New Hampshire is short 1,000 software engineers today, and that's not counting all the other high-tech jobs, like a science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Well, you would think schools like Plymouth State, Keene State, University of New Hampshire, they're public schools, and their job, their responsibility is to train our students so they could work in our state, making our state better and more productive. Well, let's see. College and universities graduate 70 to 80 software and IT students annually. They're short 1,000. We can, private businesses saying, I can hire 1,000 software engineers at twice the median income, the average income, almost $90,000 a year, where the average person is making 45 in the private sector. In the university system, all the colleges and universities only graduate 70 to 80 a year. Keene State and other ones, we're graduating teacher candidates left and right, where teaching jobs are going down every year. I think I'm missing something here. So you can go to Keene State, graduate, get an education degree, have $35,000 in debt, and try to go get a job. They'll pay you $35,000 if you can get it, but more than half of you won't be able to get a job because the jobs are no longer there. But there's 1,000 jobs available paying $90,000 a year, but we're only going to graduate 70 or 80 in the whole state every year. UNH only graduates 35 to 40 software engineers a year. They graduate 2,600 students every year. And even 10% would be 260. They graduate less than 2% software engineers a year. for $90,000 jobs. The most sought after skills for companies in New Hampshire is one of the biggest holes that we have. While the state used to get the fastest growing in migration of educated and entrepreneurs, no longer happen. New Hampshire companies are now outsourcing software development and creating jobs in Massachusetts and other places is because New Hampshire will not educate them. Other states like North Carolina and Colorado are leaping ahead of us in economic because they're cutting deals with businesses and everything to educate students in engineering, in mathematics, in science, and software. So the few that 25 to 30, 40, they're getting the heck out of New Hampshire. They're going to other states that pay off their loans and all this other kind of stuff. And instead, in New Hampshire, we're graying and going deeper and deeper into debt. I got about 5 minutes left to go. And part of this is, like I said, reading all these stuff and putting them all together, which I like to say is my strength. Now all of a sudden it creates a picture that doesn't look very good. It's a picture that we have to address. It's a picture that we can work on. We can do it, but we have to look at the whole picture. Because if I give you any one of these, I can spin it so I can make it look good or not as bad as it actually is. Okay, the 800-pound gorilla is no longer an 800-pound gorilla. It's a 5-ton elephant in the room right now. It's mad, it's a bull elephant, it's on a rampage, and it's stomping us. It's stomping us at the school board level, it's stomping us at the city, and it's stomping us at the county, and it's going to stomp the citizens of Keene for about $1.5 million extra next year, and it's the New Hampshire retirement system. Right now, active members, there's 48,000 people, workers in the state of New Hampshire, that are paying into the retirement fund. Retirees. Okay, you have 48,000 who are paying into the fund, and there is 28,000 who are retired right now collecting from the fund, and that's why the fund is only 56% full. The fund right now, was it right here, has $5.8 billion. It should basically have it should have about $10 billion. Big shortfall. And here's the problem. Local government and state government, the number of employees is going down. And so this number is going down, this number is going up. You could very easily, in the next 10 to 15 years, this number will be higher than this number. So we'll have less members paying in than collecting. That's a recipe for some serious problems. We have changed at the state, we've changed it a number of times, okay? This is where every teacher now has to pay 7% of their salary into the retirement fund. Police, 11.55%. Firemen, it's 11.8%. So look at it this way. Teachers, for every $1,000 they make, they $930. The firemen, $885. I mean, police $885, and so the firemen going to pay, they're going to pay $11. Then I think we pay 11, I think that's 9, and this is like 26, and this is 29. So this is what we as one of the governments have to pay. So basically, the fireman pays 12% out of his, the city pays 29. So basically, this person has, between the combination of him and the city, for every fire person, we have to pay 41% of that individual's salary into the retirement. Okay? And just think, every time one of these individuals retire, that 41% drops off. So if you make $100,000 between the city and the individual, $40,000 goes in. Okay, that individual retires, that goes to zero. Well, let's look on the other side. A state employee, you know, the one that's doing the plowing, stuff like that. Yep, time is up. We're going to have to wait until next week to finish this up. And you'll find this really interesting. And so we'll see you on the long road, and we will continue the retirement elephant next week. Have a good day.